Hi guys, so today we're going to make a pan-fried steak. Today I'm using a strip loin steak that I got from Fresh Street Market. So pan-fried steak is probably the most traditional way to make it, and we have to start off by panning the steak dry. What this does is that it removes the moisture from the steak, leading to the mild reaction instead of boiling the steak. So we want to make sure that we get all the moisture out of the steak by packing it dry either with a paper towel. And now we're going to move on to the seasoning. So today I'm just using salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Make sure to season both sides of the steak, and also make sure to season the sides of it. And garlic powder is optional, but I like a more garlicky flavor on my steak. Therefore, in addition to the basting, we'll use garlic powder. As we're going to be basting the steak today in butter, we're going to need some herbs. So we're using rosemary and 2 cloves of garlic. With the garlics, what you want to do is crush them. So we're going to be using a flat knife, and we're just going to put our palm on top of the knife and flatten the garlic. What this does, it infuses more flavor into the steak and creates the right balance. So for today's cook, I'll be using a steel pan. Steel pans are good because they conduct heat well, and an alternative to a steel pan would be a cast iron pan. So if you do have the option, I would definitely consider using it. We want to be adding a high smoke point oil to the pan, such as avocado oil, canola oil, or sunflower oil. Today I'll be using some sunflower oil, enough to cover the surface of the pan evenly. We don't want to be putting too much oil in or too little so it sticks. We want enough just to cover the surface evenly. So the pan has been heating for around 5 minutes now, and we're gonna put the steak in. You want to hear a sizzle, but you don't want to turn the heat up too high, or else the pepper will burn and it'll create a bitter flavor. The key point here is that you want to move the steak as less as possible. So you want to move it a little bit at the beginning so it doesn't stick on the pan. And that is because the less you move the steak, the more flavorful it will be and the more moisture it will retain. After searing for around 5 minutes on each side, we're going to start the butter basting process. So we're going to drop about a half a cup of butter, and along with it our aromatics, in which this case it's some rosemary and some garlic. So we want to drop the butter and turn the heat down low so the butter milk fats don't separate. And as you see, we're adding our aromatics in, and we just want to combine the flavor for a little bit. Once the flavors are combined, we want to start basting. So how we do that is we take a spoon and we just pour the butter over the steak. And what that does is that infuses the steak with the flavors of the rosemary and the garlic, and this will completely elevate your steak more than traditional cooking methods. And one thing that I like to do is I like to put the garlic and the rosemary on top of the steak and butter baste it. So this creates even more flavor, and you would want to do this on both sides, so you get an even flavor on both sides of the steak. Basting process, we're done cooking the steak, and we're just going to place it onto a pan and let it rest for at least 10 minutes. So I fast forward it and I let it rest for 10 minutes, and now we're just going to do a cross section. What we're going for is a medium rare with an internal temperature of 135 degrees Fahrenheit. And as you can see, we have achieved that temperature. And what resting the steak does is that it helps retain the juice of the steak. So as you're cutting the steak, the juices don't flow out, and it doesn't let the steak become dry. So you can place the rosemary on the steak for presentation purposes. But besides that, thank you for watching. Um, I hope I can do more cooking videos in the future, and more advanced recipes, uh, more of my favorite recipes. But for now, we're starting with something simple. So thank you for watching, and hopefully, I'll see you guys soon.